It's a recipe that's like everything bagel salmon, but it's not on a bagel. It's like a dish, like an entree. So you have like salmon, everything bagel seasoning. There's a sauce that you make with like basically cream cheese, all the flavors you get from like a bagel with the tomato and the onion, all that. I've just been repurposing that. It's like really, really great. And obviously, I meant the Washington Times. That's the Times I speak of.
Hmm. I thought you meant like, do I understand the times we're living in, man? Do you get the times? Do you get the times? Well, it's a good segue because, we see each other a lot, but, we've been so busy talking to other dads, we don't get to check in with each other. And I
It's
know that,
true.
Ollie, you kind of live under a rock. And so I'm going to tell you what's going on a little bit. All right?
It's
Because part of being a dad, you get so locked into your daily, I gotta, get the groceries and make lunches, and you don't know what's going on in the world. But Ollie, I have to tell you, as someone who's very online,
Mhm.
I know what's going on, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to watch some videos. We're going to talk about some news stories, some good, some bad, some ugly,
Okay.
because it's important to get the dad's POV. All right?
Yes. Yeah. Are we talking about like the Wendy's Big E combo? Or are we talking about Wendy's?
All right, don't try to make this one of your little food segments, all right? One of your little, hey everybody, I'm Ali Khan from Cheap Eats, and I'm going to tell you that, food's not so cheap anymore. It's not so cheap. Is that right? Is
That's
that what you do?
true. Sad but true.
Yeah. So, all right, we're dads. We're talking about parenting and family stuff. You familiar with this guy, David Beckham?
You know what? I think I'm aware of his dad. Wait, David. Wait.
David, he's the one with the left foot or the right foot. He bent it. He bent it like himself.
That's
Bent it
okay.
like Beckham.
I was so ready to talk about this family drama that I forgot that David Beckham is the original Beckham. There's a lot of Beckhams. He had kids. Go
Yeah, he had
figure.
four with one of the Spice Girls. Hey, do you know which Spice Girl he's married to?
God, jeez. What were the? Give me some. Can we make this multiple choice?
Okay, is David Beckham married to Scary Spice, Ginger Spice, Baby Spice, or Posh Spice?
Posh Spice?
That's correct.
No way.
For 2 extra points, can you name the Spice Girl I did not include in the multiple choice question?
Uh, yeah.
Sporty Spice.
I was thinking of sport. I was like, there were so many ways I was gonna go rough on this because here's the thing about the Spice Girls is you really just took a group of women and you kind of like were like, oh yeah, this one's this type. You know what I mean? Like they all represented a category. The most obvious one is the one of African descent. What spice was she?
Guess.
What were the options?
Geez, I gotta run through it again. She was Scary Spice, all right?
That's fucked up. Let's be honest. You know what I
I
mean?
think she chose it herself. I think they all chose their own names.
Scary spice. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. It's
Hey,
weird.
they made a lot of great songs, by the way. I gotta say. Like, they were not one-hit wonders. They were like 10-hit wonders.
I think there was a lull. There was a lull. The internet was not fast, and there was a lull. I remember the
Get
Spice
out of
Girls
here.
came out. I was like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I was in college, but at the same time, we were still young enough to kind of be like, is this going to be a thing? And I don't know. We were all hungry for things
You
once.
know what? I think their message was about girl power. It was about friendship, and it was just about having a good time. And I'm down for it. I am married to a big spice head, and I love all things 90s, especially mainstream. So, but here's the thing, man. We're talking about the Beckham boy.
Yeah.
It's my wife said, it's hard to be the firstborn. That's what was my role. I was the first of three. He's the first of four. Now imagine your dad's like one of the best soccer players to ever live, and your mom is Posh Spice. All
Facts.
right.
Yeah.
He had a hard time.
Yeah.
He tried a bunch of different careers. I think he's a chef. His name is Brooklyn, which I mean
Yeah. That
that's
was the
hard when you give
weird
your kid
thing.
a name of a gentrified borough. That's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happens? Well, how do you make it on your own when you come from such immense fame and wealth? You marry a billionaire, right? So he met this woman, Nicola Peltz,
Huh?
She doesn't need their money. So obviously, Posh Spice and this billionaire heiress are going to kind of like, go like, nah, nah, nah. So, there have
Wow.
been rumblings and kind of the rumor mill, the Daily Mail, the TMZ,
Yeah.
the, whatever, Inquirer-esque kind of speculations.
Hmm.
Where's Brooklyn? Why isn't he with the family, at all these celebrations and all these photo ops? What's going on?
Yeah.
He broke his silence, and I'm going to read to you some of
Oh
the
God.
statement. Yeah.
I just wish for the best for people, even Posh Spice's kid.
Well, Brooklyn Beckham said this in just white text on a black background, as you do. Just keep it, just the facts, ma'am.
Mm.
Brooklyn says, I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life. For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. Recently, I have seen with my own eyes the lengths that they'll go to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, to preserve their own facade. But I believe the truth always comes out. My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. My mum, because he's British, mum.
Classic.
My mum canceled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour despite how excited she was to wear her design, forcing her to urgently find a new dress. Weeks before our big day, my parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe me into signing away the rights to my name, which would have affected me, my wife, and our future children.
Well, wait, signing away the rights to your name? Is that like what does that even mean?
When you're a Beckham, the name matters, right? They were adamant on me signing before my wedding date because then the terms of the deal would be initiated. My holdout affected the payday, and they have never treated me the same since. During the wedding planning, my mom went so far as to call me evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny Sandra and Nicola's Nani at our table because they both didn't have their husbands. Both of our parents had their own tables equally adjacent to ours.
Hmm.
He goes on. My wife has consistently been disrespected by my family, no matter how hard we've tried to come together as one. My mom has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that were clearly intended to make us both uncomfortable. Despite this, we still traveled to London for my dad's birthday and were rejected for a week as we waited in our hotel room trying to plan quality time with him. He refused all of our attempts, unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. Later, when my family traveled to LA, they refused to see me at all. The night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere this last summer. My mom hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, to a romantic love song. In front of our 500 wedding guests, Mark Anthony called me to the stage where in the schedule was planned to be my romantic dance with my wife, but instead my mom was waiting to dance with me instead. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life. We wanted to renew our vows so we could create new memories of our wedding day that bring us joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. My family values public promotion and endorsement above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. We've gone out of our way for years to show up and support at every fashion show, every party, every press activity to show our perfect family. But the one time my wife asked for my mom's support to save displaced dogs from fires, the LA fires, my mom refused. The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life. I grew up with overwhelming anxiety. For the first time in my life, since stepping away from my family, that anxiety has disappeared. I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and have found peace and relief. My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family. Wow.
So this dropped, what, 2 days ago? I feel like we're doing a whole other podcast vibe here, by the way. I'm like getting online. I'm checking this stuff out. First of all, I can't believe what platform was that on? That was a lot of words you just said.
That was on Instagram. There's like several slides.
Okay, well, multi-slide thing makes a lot
Yeah,
of sense.
yeah.
A lot of wow. This guy was born in '99. I mean, like what? Okay, I mean, this is all over Reddit, right? This is just crazy. I mean, you know, being a guy who's like, you know, what's the other side to it? What's all going on? Like, I'm gonna tell you, like, money clearly, the one thing I can just walk away from is this: money does not buy happiness, clearly. And it seems as though, like, it's weird, like, as a society, even my personal self, I'm like, as I try and, like, figure out what exactly I do and can do, and, taking advantage of whatever little exposure I've had in a media life, you realize someone like that's like, it's like, oh yeah, you're a football player, then you're all washed up. He's the opposite of that, being the world's, at one point, probably the world's best soccer player, which is a huge deal, as we know. The world's a much bigger place than just the people who watch the Super Bowl. It's like, oh my God, that's huge. Or then you just turn it into, all the other things he's done, but that carries with it weight. And the family's all in on it. Like it's a burden, right? I mean, it's hard to say like, oh, you're a freaking billionaire and it's a burden, but like, it doesn't come, it didn't come inherited. You know what I mean? They built all this stuff. Like, it's hustle. It is, but man, this just all sucks, man. I mean, yeah, this just all sucks. Like, you would think like, oh man, you guys got it made in the shade. You don't have to worry about stuff. Like, how jacked is this? How is it you could, be so successful and defy all these odds and still like have a public mess like this, Kind of reminded me of the old Royals,
This is such a great analogy. And it's funny. I think you look at Prince Harry and you look at Brooklyn Beckham. And by the way, I just want to say, like, this has divided the internet. Because you have, I don't know if it's generational lines or what, but there is a camp that says, this boy is a spoiled brat. He's ungrateful. He built everything, and got every advantage and even met his now wife because of the Beckham name, because of the Beckham legacy, businesses, wealth that they've built, and here he's spitting in their face, right? And then you have another camp who says, wow, good for him that he's able to stand up for himself. Good for him that he's able to kind of break away and put his family of creation before his family of origin. That's that. I don't know if you ever heard those phrases before. I learned that from our rabbi when we had to do the mandatory counseling before we got married. And he used to say, I hope you fight on the way home because that means I did my job. And I was like, what the fuck, man? You want us to fight? And his point was, yeah, I want you to fight before the marriage, before the wedding, because you got to work all this stuff out because you get in trouble when you're having these conversations for the first time, 10 years in or never having the conversations, right? So, part of that, he taught us that phrase of family of origin versus family of creation. And I think when, if we're to believe, a shred of truth of what Brooklyn Beckham is saying, that, she's not family, she's not blood. There's a real, and this is why I think we're talking about it on World's Greatest Dad, there's a real difficult transition often for families when new partners enter, when marriage happens, right? You have your new family. I remember I had an old boss who was a mentor of mine, and I remember asking his advice because he was always so well adjusted, and he had kind of an overbearing mother, as I'm familiar with. And I remember saying, like, what do you do, like, with your girlfriend or your wife and your mom, like, when they're at odds? And he said, well, it's very easy. He said, you have to pick a side, and that side is your wife. That's it. It's not that complicated. Like, this is the person you chose, right? Now, I think barring any kind of like abuse. It's this is the life you chose. This is you are an adult, right? Now, of course, it becomes complicated by this immense wealth and these strings that are dangled, and I think it's really, so I do, applaud him to the extent that like it's really hard to do that. You know, of course, because he is married to a billionaire or a billionaire heiress, you wonder, are strings being pulled on the other end? It's like this kid can't catch a break. I don't know why I'm calling him a kid. He is a full grown man.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we do tend to infantilize the wealthy and the upper class in that way. But yeah, I mean, like, if anything, it's opened up the conversation about no contact in families. It's opened up the conversation about, estrangement in general and control. And I think it's a worthy conversation because I think, like, as somebody who has a almost 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and you have a 14-year-old, I think, like, the goal, obviously, long term is to want them to hang out with us, right? Like,
Right.
if you're using money as a weapon or influence as a weapon to control, what is the relationship really, right? I think, like, again, I'm taking this statement at face value. If what he says is true or a version of the truth, and perhaps the truth lays somewhere in the middle, that he wants to connect with his dad outside of the cameras, outside of all of this,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is truly like what it is all about, right? That is the point. To really know someone, right? To be able to be vulnerable with them outside of all this context. And I'll tell you, who does a pretty damn good job of that is Ben Affleck.
Is what?
I think Ben Affleck's a really good dad. What do you think?
I've not dived into that side of him. I think what's interesting is about Ben Affleck in general is, first of all, have you seen the guy speak Spanish? Dear God, he's fluent. Yeah, it'll blow you away.
Have you seen him talk about AI? I saw this thing that was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I've seen it. I've seen
every
it.
few years,
It's
people
awesome.
forget. People are reminded that like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are actually like really fucking smart. People
Yeah,
are like,
yeah,
oh, these idiot celebrities, and it's like, no,
yeah.
they're like really
No,
smart,
they are
dude.
not the characters they portray, and I could unload because I had it was weird. It was a different era, but when they achieved their breakthrough moment with what was it? Jesus Christ, not talented Mr. Ripley.
Goodwill
What?
Hunting.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. When they had their breakthrough, I remember at the time this was just kind of me being like, basically being an artsy kid, kind of going, "Oh, that's not like a real Gus Van Sant movie." Meanwhile, cut to like the TikTok era, and even Keyboard Cat. I mean, like it was an embarrassment of riches in terms of art and cinema back then. But obviously these guys have certainly a head on their shoulders, and the head's quite handsome. I mean, that dude played Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? He played older Bruce Wayne, which is, hats off to him. But it is interesting. Basically, I'm saying all this to say he is someone who I have grown to really kind of admire and respect out of nowhere. I mean, if you would have told me back when I was 19, like, Affleck's going to have legs, I'll be like, no way. He's going to fade. Oh, no. The town is excellent. Obviously, he's had his struggles, and that's been publicized, but as we know, being world's greatest dad, that's normal. It's normal because we're humans. We're human beings. And, he's had his struggles. I am kind of curious to know more about him as a dad. Great get. We'll see what happens. First, we'll get Sterling, then we'll get Affleck. It'll be nuts. Does Damon have kids? I don't know. Does Jason Bourne have kids?
He has 4 daughters.
Really? Wow, you're up on this stuff. Look, let's get back to the initial. I think the big issue here is the fact that, and this is because, of course, it is Beckham, right? It all starts with Beckham. Being part of that family is a job. It's a job. Being the child of David Beckham is a job. Being a royal is a job. It is not a normal childhood, okay? It's a job. It comes with pressures, and there's money on the line. There's money on the line, and you have to act accordingly. And to a degree, it's unfair. I remember so small scale, but we had a friend who has a private practice, and she like had her kids be on the website, and she goes, "Oh, I paid them. Like they're working for me. I'm using this, and I paid them." And then she had brought up something like, oh, like you could pay Heath for best thing I ever ate. And I'm like, if I paid him for best thing I ever ate, I would not be able to eat because we didn't get paid that much money. But to her point, like think about what you're doing right now. And it's funny even with social media, and I'm just as guilty of it, I mean, my God, hello, this podcast. You know what I mean? I'm taking, my own life and putting it out there to a point where, it is potential to be called work. It's work. And that's what you have to unpack there is like, it was work to be growing up being that guy's son. It's a job, period. And like, it is what it is. Like, it's survival. They were afforded a very, very lavish life, but it comes with work. Like, I think that's fair to say. Like, David Beckham worked really hard. He worked hard. You don't bend the soccer ball because you're like, oh yeah, I'll just kick it like this and it'll work out. He worked hard and he kept working, and his family had to come along with the ride. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's great. I mean, money's great. Rolls Royces are great, but like it was earned. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it was overpaid or not, they had to go out and earn that. He had to earn it too. Yeah, he has a billionaire. Like, is he the person who we should feel the most sympathy for on planet Earth right now? Methinks no, but I'm not gonna like hate on the guy. His pain's real. I'm not gonna.
We're talking about Brooklyn or David right now?
Brooklyn.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, look, I mean, I think that's the conversation I wanted to have, right? I think we all have these parasocial relationships with celebrities. That's not a new thing, but certainly it's on steroids because of social media and the internet. But I think if anything, it allows us to have the broader conversation about like family dynamics and like what is expected of you as a kid, what is expected of you as a father or a mother. And I think like at the end of the day, if your kid feels uncomfortable and unsafe, why is that? And we don't know. We're not going to know. We're not in that family. We're not in that circle. But at the very least, people are making a lot of assumptions and, relating it to their own families and their own experiences. And I think it's a worthy conversation to have, right? Of, if you're an adult child who's estranged from your parents, why did that happen? Because I think generally it's a drip, 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 drip. This leak is not fixable, right? Like the foundation is just totally shot. It is, I think, very rare that an estrangement happens over one incident.
Sure.
Usually, there are times where you can point to an incident as the climax or the final straw, but it's very rare that is all about one.
Yeah, come on. That thing. Well, the other thing too is like it's impossible to. I mean, we were kind of inferring at the top of this, but it's like, how do you become your own person? How do you become your own? How do you grow up? It's easy to be the son of David Beckham as a child. You know what I mean? That's my dad up there, and that's me, mum. Yeah, Spice
Yeah,
Girl.
no, it's hard. I mean, and so we're talking about estrangement. I want to share this clip with you. Share my screen. Where is this? Ollie, can you see that?
See, Pelt Beckham, Anthony Hopkins on being a Ooh.
Yeah, now tell me if you can hear this.
I know it's sensitive for you, so
I know what you're going to talk about, my domestic life.
Yes.
No.
Even though it's in the book.
No. It's done.
Can I ask a general question that's not specifically about the material in the book?
Well,
it's about the. I'll stumble through this. Part of the reason that the material in the book about your relationship with your daughter, your estranged relationship with your daughter, part of the reason why I found it so painful is that it resonated with me for personal reasons. I've seen my father, I think, twice in 20 years. I've spoken to him once in those 20 years. And I'm very curious about other people's experience of that kind of estrangement. In this instance, the estrangement is my choice, but I just wonder if you have thoughts about where reconciliation might lie between estranged parents and children.
my wife, Stella, sent an invitation to come and see us. Not a word of response. So I think, okay, fine. I wish her well. I'm not going to waste blood over that. If you want to waste your life being in resentment, 50 years later, 58 years later, fine, go ahead. It's not in my ken. See, I could carry resentment over the past, this and the other, but that's death. You're not living. You have to acknowledge one thing, that we are imperfect. We're not saints. We're all sinners and saints or whatever we are. We do the best we can. Life is painful. Sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes we get hurt. But you can't live like that. You have to say, get over it. And if you can't get over it, fine. Good luck to you. But I have no judgment. Did what I could. So that's it. That's all I want to say.
Do you hope your daughter reads the book?
I'm not going to answer that, no. I don't care.
I'll move on.
Please, I want you to. Because I don't want to hurt her.
I understand.
I don't want to make any, 20 years the offer was made, but fine. Onwards.
A lot there to talk about, huh?
I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is there's no way they can bring him back for Hannibal Lecter. I mean, I'd push him over. If he tried to bite me, I'd beat him to death with like one arm. I'd be like, you can't bite me, and you'll probably choke. So that's humbling, knowing Hannibal.
Well, Ollie, I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that the internet also had thoughts on this interview, on this clip. I think, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. There's so many tells in just, it's such a quick clip. He's so deliberate. He hesitates so much. He is an older man, but the best comment I saw on this was, my wife sent the invitation. Why didn't you send the invitation?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, my wife reached out. I think that my general understanding is he abandoned this kid, wasn't really present, decided, hey, I'm ready. I want to reconnect. And she's like, no thanks, man. You were not there for me.
Right.
I don't like you.
Yeah.
And he's, and I think like he literally says, you need to get over it. And again, I think that this is such a generational response, not to say boomers are this way or the old greatest generation's this way, but I do think like, thankfully, the conversation is changing where if your adult children come to you and say they've been hurt, the response should not be, well, you got to get over it. In my opinion, I think you can say, thank you for sharing that with me. I want to talk about that with you. I want to try to repair it. And you might not be able to, but this idea that the only answer is the person you hurt getting over it and saying that's life, that is life. And as a result, you're estranged from your kid because of actions you did. I do find that there's a blame shifting of, kind of calling the victim the responsible party here. I don't see a lot of ownership on Anthony Hopkins' behalf.
I mean, have you unpacked all this? Because I have no idea what the scenario background was.
I mean, no, I just watched TikTok. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the gist of, what the source of the riff was. But without diving into that one and really business, I'll insert myself in here too. And I actually brought this up in one of our stellar Monday musings. It's sort of funny to say out loud. Clearly, I'm not pushing our own Substack enough. But in the Monday musings, when we are, it's 2016, 2016 is trending, and 2016 is the year my father died. And that was the year when, I had seen him. I kind of really, the roles had really, really reversed between a father and a son when the son comes and physically moves the father into a new home. That is the ultimate role reversal right there, right? And it was a difficult time for him. He was never someone who was ever going to admit that he would live in a facility, nursing home, whatever. And, it was a very difficult time, and sadly just did not see as much of him as I wanted to over those last few years. And as I was navigating that time and really kind of pushing him to kind of make some decisions to make his life easier and acknowledge the stage of life he was at, I had a friend of mine who was helping me out. And he kept saying this to me. He was like, be the bigger man. Be the bigger man. And it is swallowing it. And it is kind of going, I got to a place, and that was in the musing. The whole point of it really was that I never got to hear or understand or have any of the feelings that I wanted validated, or I never got to say the things I wanted to say. But there was a moment where he said something to himself that was the acknowledgement I needed. And you get to a place in life where you go, this is all you're going to get. You know what I mean? And I took the W as I saw it on the field. You know what I mean? I'm not going to win the championship. I'm not going to play in the NFL. I'm not going to get a Guy Fieri contract, you know? But I'm in life, you ultimately look back and you go, this is what happened. And did you see any W's in here? And so that's where I take. So when I look at that, I understand to a degree, again, not taking sides, because I don't know the scenario or situation, but you know, it will, life does move on. It is one of those things too, where it's like, we are in a different era than the boomers, right? And you know, I think we have a potential closer relationship with our kids as a generation compared to the generation in the past. At the same time, one cannot predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen. And when Heath finds a partner, one doesn't know how that life will unfold. You know what I mean? And what place the parents have in that future, because it will be ultimately his life. He will, God willing, far outlive me and have his own family and write his own and write the rest of the chapters of his book. And it's weird. It's like at some point it's like, you know, did David, I'm judging these people, but I could just say this as a dad. I hope that, you know, my hope is that he becomes his own person and he writes his own book and he is doing his thing. And I'd love to stick around to see a part of it and be a part of his life, but I want to be a part of his life versus going, I hope he's still a part of mine. You know what I mean? I feel like the mindset there is so important. And I wonder if that's where some of these issues are. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you're not a part of my life. You know what? I'll just say this. I just want to try and be a part of yours. You know? I don't know. Is that enlightened, Neil? Is that enlightened?
I think that's beautifully put. Speaking of great dads, speaking of world's greatest dads, just like you, let's share another clip of one of the greatest dads, huh? How about it? Yeah.
Al Bundy,
No,
Family Guy. Woo.
not this guy, but a guest on this Jason Kelsey show. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You can ask that question too. First thing I tell people with advice with kids is don't listen to any advice anybody else gives.
Yeah, you got to figure it out.
An old friend of mine said when my 19-year-old was probably 18 months, said, don't blink. That is real.
Yeah.
My daughter broke her collarbone, and this morning she was getting ready for school. She's 17. She asked me to brush her hair. So I brushed her hair, and it was like I hadn't brushed her hair, I don't know, 8, 9 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're at that stage now where it's like you get them ready.
Oh, you got to do all of it.
They're lined up.
Yes, exactly.
I don't remember when I brushed her hair for the last time. It just kind of happened. And then life kind of kept going. And the changes are so incremental that like you don't realize until I ran the hairbrush through her hair, and it's the same.
Yeah.
And it buckled me, man. So don't blink.
That's awesome.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
We don't need to
Can we
promote
get on
their
one thing
show.
next?
They're doing just fine. Those are the Kelty brothers. Apparently they do the thing with the ball. It's not like a round ball. It's shaped kind of like.
One of them's done. The other one's injured.
Talk about marrying a billionaire, huh? Hey.
That's true. They're not.
So, yeah,
well,
I
you're
love
right.
that.
I forgot about that.
I love that Matt Damon clip just because, we just sold our stroller yesterday, our Up-A-Baby stroller. You know, that's like $700 stroller that we've had for 8 years. Finally, it's just been like sitting.
You bought a $700 stroller?
Why are you telling people? Even though I already told people. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yes. What do you think these things cost? I mean, yeah, this is. You know what? I will say we were judged for that even years ago.
What kind of stroller is this again? I'm looking this up.
Ollie, the thing is about New York, you walk everywhere. That's your car. Your stroller is your car.
I see what you mean. What was it called? What was the brand?
The Up-A-Baby.
Up-A-Baby.
Yeah. But I thought that was kind of beautifully put by Mr. Will Hunting himself. I don't recognize him as Jason Bourne. I've never seen a Bourne movie. I have no interest. I'm a huge
Seriously? What is you know what's so funny for a freaking total freaking buff of the cinema of the
Yeah.
streaming? There's a lot of things that and I haven't watched crap, but there clearly are some buckets that
Yeah.
I have dived into that you're kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's why, we complement each other.
Yeah. It's I just picture you as like the guy in the video stories like, it's pretty good. Yeah, I watched it twice.
Yeah. Well,
Watch
speaking of really just quality content, have you seen this? Have you heard about the show Traitors?
Oh, yeah. It's actually, you know how I recognized it? It was an ad on my blog. I was like, what is this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't watch. I mean, I'll catch clips here and there. My wife obsessed. My daughter now watching it with her. But here's the part of Traitors that I care most about. Michael Rappaport is on Traitors, and this is how was revealed. First of all, a lot of people hate him in general, and now after his Traitors appearance, people really hate him. But this is the thing that got the most traction: is how he eats his dinner. Ready for this?
That can't be real.
Let's watch that again.
That's like,
All right, let's watch that again.
that's not, I mean, that's like a bit. That's
Okay,
not
one more
normal.
time. Now, Ollie, when I tell you that my wife emerged from the kitchen last night when I was finishing up my dinner, and she was like, okay, Michael Rappaport, I'm like, I don't want to get it on the floor. It's the last bite.
You didn't eat like that, though. I'd like to see some, wow, because that doesn't seem, look, I am not without sin, Neil.
Sure.
My mother licked the plate. I've licked the plate. I've licked a plate. I'm a dishwasher. I am the washer of the dish. So I'm going to be like, I'm going to wash this anyways. I made this food. It's good. It's good food. I make good food. I lick the plate. I make sure no one sees me, though. I'll tell you, one day I'm waiting for Beer Lady to be like, did you just lick the plate? What is wrong with you? Put that down. I like to call it a cultural thing.
Speaking of what is wrong with you, I've got another clip for you.
God.
I just, I need to educate you. Again, we've established you've been under a rock,
I want to talk about Rappaport next, but keep going.
All right. Well, have you seen this? Have you seen this guy? This Scott Jennings character?
I think I've seen her. I've seen this bit, but let's run this bit.
Yeah.
We should follow the law, but let's not get our knickers in a twist here.
Let's not get our knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane. It's insane. The Epstein Files is a multinational, multi-generational child and woman sex trafficking ring. So your attitude right now, you're sort of like, well, shucks, devil be gone, is just horrifying to me. Every woman in the world that is watching this, why are you acting like you have no idea what's happening here? Scott,
He asked me a question about following the law.
And what
I
I'm
said they
saying
should
to you,
follow.
yes, and they're not following the law. They're 30 days late on following law, and they didn't explain why they redacted the first things in the first place, which they were also supposed to do.
I know.
Listen,
you
at
have
this
a strong
point, this
opinion
is not.
about it, and
I have a strong
respect
opinion
that.
about it because it is a
But I think they
disgusting
should do it
policy
as
that they are
fast as
doing
they
this.
can.
They are hiding it. It is not the behavior of innocent people, and everything that is in these files is. It could bring an entire house down. And if it has to, it has to. If it brings down Democrats, bring them down. If it brings down Republicans, bring them down. If it brings down princes, world leaders, Hollywood people, bring them down. But what it feels like right now is that there's a giant cabal of people that do not have to listen to the law, do not have to oppose the law, and they were supposed to do something, then they didn't do something, and now they're trying to have a new law that says we don't even have to do it.
What's really
Huh? Lee McGowan giving it to Scott Jennings. I mean, the way he's looking at her, he's like seething. You could tell he's just like hates women. Like that guy fucking hates women. Come on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so funny. I mean, first of all, these programs are always interesting because it's like, yeah, what could go wrong? You know what I mean? It basically is like, what will happen on Survivor next? It's like, why are these two people here together? It's like, just waiting for all sense of civility to go away.
I mean, but it's like that whole thing of the mayor of Minneapolis said the F word. He said to ICE, get the fuck out of our city. Be like, I can't believe he said fuck. kids are watching this. It's like, yeah, kids are also watching, like, human beings be, like, kidnapped by a secret police Gestapo. Like, and he made that point. He was like, yeah, I said the F word. Ooh, and that was what she did so brilliantly. She's like, oh, we got our knickers in a twist.
Yeah.
No one likes to be imitated. I think that's where she nailed him. I mean, she had a trove of facts, of logical, sane arguments about they're not following the law. But I think what really drove him the maddest was making fun of his affect and the words.
No.
I mean, knickers in a twist. It's like, you are a lame, horny loser. In addition to excusing pedophilia, you're just a loser. Like, you're corny and you're a loser, Scott Jennings. You stink.
It is crazy. I just go back to like these kind of, like I know what I think, and it's interesting when I see these shows and it's like, okay, let's have a conversation. And it's like, dude, there's nothing to converse about this. You release the files and that's it. And then even honestly, when I look and I'm like, of course they're going to put these two together. I go back to my original thing of what went wrong. I want to talk about Rappaport because he was for a long time was all over my TikTok feed. And it's so weird because I watched a lot of his stuff in the 90s, and then I just watched him kind of like, I feel like he does rage bait, right? He's always like doing these things on TikTok, right?
I don't think it's bait. I think he is the embodiment of rage now. I think
Yeah. He's just like always.
I think rage bait, like the implication is like, I don't really believe this, but I'm just trying to get like clicks and stuff.
Right.
I think he's like just turned into like a supervillain, I guess.
Yeah, look, and there's obviously a much deeper thing here, which is, talking about this little thing called the Israel-Palestine conflict issue, big kind of a thing. It's been around. It's been brewing for a minute. Coffee's been on the pot. Coffee's been on the stove.
1948, perhaps since 5,000,
maybe even longer, maybe 46. I don't know. We'd have to double check the math. But like, I don't know. It's also the nature of how we consume stuff on TikTok, where it's like, I have 7 seconds of your time. Oh yeah, you don't like that? Blow me. I'm here. You're like, whoa, okay.
I was going to say 7 seconds is generous. 7 seconds on the TikTok is like, it's like a feature film.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We should explore that. I think we could do some really good.
But speaking of TikTok, I've got another great clip, and this is the world's greatest dad. We talk about dads, but we also talk about moms. We talk about, partners. You can't do it alone. It takes a village, as the
Greg Scheinman can't be the world's greatest dad without the world's greatest mom. Love that line.
Or partner. He's heterosexual.
I'm not trying to be. I'm not trying to be binary.
Yeah,
I am Gen X. I have to unlearn stuff. I know.
And that's part of being a dad too. But check this out. I want to get your honest, unfiltered take on this clip, because this is.
I thought it was Gavin Newsom.
This is a divorce lawyer, author, divorce lawyer, and really knows his way around a podcast. His name is James Sexton, and here's his take on being a stay-at-home mom. You ready?
I'm sorry. I know it's like not a popular thing to say. Stay-at-home mom is not a hard job. Like hot tar roofer, that's a hard job. Landscaper, that's a hard job. And we've even created a culture. Motherhood is the hardest job in the whole world. And this Mother's Day, remember that mom is the hardest job. We've got people gassed up on this idea that like, oh my God, the hardest job in the world is being a mom. And it's like, guys, it's not. It's not. It's not the hardest job in the world. It's an incredibly important job. You could make the case that it's the most important job in the world, for sure. But it's the most physically taxing, incredibly. And by the way, it's transient. You're telling me a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old, it's the same gig? No, I had 2 kids. Trust me, 2, really hands-on, really challenging. 8, still hands-on, but in a very different way. 18, not really that hard anymore. Psychologically, maybe you have to be there in different ways and discipline in different ways, but like hands-on part of it, it's not as difficult.
It's funny. He went from a divorce lawyer to a divorced lawyer because that was like a man.
He is divorced. How the fuck could you be married to that person who like doesn't value your work, who doesn't like see you and what you do as like valuable at all? Like, yeah. He's got some thoughts and opinions, and that's his right in America to say that stay-at-home mom is not a hard job.
Yeah, I was gonna say this falls under my list of conversations that didn't need to happen, or things that don't really, You know, and it's weird because part of it is like, oh no, we should be able to say what we want. I like the idea of that, but there's plenty of things that are said that just don't need to be, that I didn't need to hear. I'll say that. You know, I'm going to say that. I didn't need to hear that. I did not.
I wonder, does he believe that? You know, because you're like, is he saying this to kind of be controversial and make noise and kind of get eyeballs? Or does he believe this, or some combination of the two? But I'll guess, like, where I also take issue is the fact that, like, you know, he's not even having like a coherent like argument, because he's saying it's the hardest job in the world, and then he says it's not the most physically taxing. Well, what are we talking about here? Because you know, if we're equating, like, the sanitation worker is, you know, presumably a harder job physically than being a stay-at-home mom or dad, but then why isn't the pay commensurate with it? Like, you know what I think's a really fucking easy job? Being a divorce lawyer. You guys want to split up? All right, I'm going to figure out a cheat sheet of these are the assets you get. And that's really fucking easy.
Yeah.
You know what's really fucking easy? Is just putting on a 3-piece suit and being like, I won this guy a lot of money because this, you know, I made him sign I fished out this prenup and we made sure that she didn't get a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you want to talk about easy jobs? Divorce lawyer is really fucking easy. I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Divorce rates at what, 5%? So, like, what's hard, I think, is being a committed partner, working through things. I mean, this guy, talk about going through a crisis. He's got, like, the tats all the way up his arm. Like,
oh, he did? Did he have a lot of ink there?
So, like, you know, and he thinks he's like some like brave, bold guy being like, stay-at-home mom's not a hard job. It's like, yeah. Buddy, that's not like a hot take. That's just like I don't know.
You know what? Here's the thing. He is definitely like, you know, he's the mean lawyer on Law and Order. He's a mean lawyer. He's a mean lawyer. Like, there's the lawyer. He is not the lawyer who's defending Sam Jackson in the John Grisham book. You know what I mean? He is not. You know what he's not? He is not Atticus Finch. Ladies and gentlemen, I rest my case. That man is not Atticus Finch.
No, that's so he is a day player. You're like, oh, I saw him in another episode. Oh yeah, he's always that piece of shit that defends like the rapist. Yeah. You're like, and he's like, got him off on a technicality.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, you invited him in, didn't you? You led him on, didn't you? Yeah. And then like she shoots him. Totally.
They're like, what do we got this week? This like piece of shit is accused of rape, but like his parents are like really wealthy. Who's going to represent him? Call Sexton. Call James Sexton. Yeah, he'll come in and do it. Yeah.
Sexton, you're here because you're the best, and my Ricky deserves the best. We have a future to lead.
My Ricky, man. All right, I speaking of the manosphere, here I got another one for you. Ready?
Love them.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared, okay? I am prepared.
To see your search history. I can't wait for Shira to look through your phone and be like, what the hell's your problem? I swear it was research, I swear. Why are you looking at Sexton again?
Yeah, you know this guy, huh?
The thing about men is they will never do anything unless they have to. But if they have to do something, they will do anything. If they have to do something, if they have no freaking choice, we're going over the top, they will do it. When I had our first job when I was 25, I was working in a magazine, and I had this very kind of weird but very wise managing editor, and I came back from my paternity leave, which was like 6 hours, and he goes, congratulations, your life is going to change. And I said, everyone says that. I'm 25. I have no idea. I never even expected to have kids. I have this kid. And I say to him, how is my life going to change? Everyone says that. He goes, I'll never forget this. We're standing outside his office. He goes, when you have a baby, you realize you will do whatever it takes. And I was like, wow. And I'd grown up in a kind of rich people, Nerf atmosphere, a lot of like cigarettes in bed with French toast kind of thing. And I'd never really been put to any test at all. And I was like, what do you mean, whatever it takes? He goes, you need to rob a liquor store to feed the kid? You'll rob a liquor store without thinking about it. Ever it takes.
Yeah. French toast, cigarette. Hey, Tucker, you know what's funny is you realize that Tucker Carlson is quite talented, but it's not with the substance of what he says. It's just in his delivery. You know what I mean? Because, like, and that was one of those things where, I mean, it does work really well, where he can just very quickly deliver stuff that's, hot topic, controversial take on it, and not flinch. But then at the same time, I'm like, what is this guy saying right now? This one was a pretty real light.
I'll tell you the big disconnect for me, the most fascinating part about that clip was there was an acknowledgement that a father or a parent will do whatever it takes. They will rob a liquor store if they have to feed the kid. And yet, this man can't understand fleeing oppressive government to bring your child to a safe country where they can have freedom of speech and bodily autonomy.
I don't think he really got it. You know what I mean? Like, he said that, but like, it just, that's the thing is, I think that guy honestly is a career talking head. And, it's almost like you get into like the bar and stuff. I'm like, do you even really believe what you say? Or are you just doing this thing? Is it all just cosplay? Are these guys just cosplay?
You know what I saw recently? I saw a thing someone said like that. I think some of these people, Bill Maher, Tucker Carlson, I don't know, Nick Fuentes, these types, Rush Limbaugh, RIH, rest in hell. They have a kink for being hated. They want to be yelled at. They want to be told they're wrong. I don't get it. A lot of people want approval, but they are leaning into, all right, well then I will be a super villain.
Yeah.
And that becomes their persona. And then I think it just kind of like begets itself. And so I think that might be what's part of what's going on here. But
Yeah. No, I look, way back when things weren't even that crazy as they are now politically, which is like, it's just insane. It's not like right or left anymore. It's just like, it really is like an authoritarian regime that just absolutely cows to the current president, or I don't know, some sort of sanity. And I remember going, you know what a good bit for me could be? I could come out there. We're talking like just even before Tea Party, but basically being a Limbaugh-esque type guy. And it would be like, oh, this would be great. I'll be that guy. And I knew this other guy who was, he was, we would have good political conversations, and I would kind of throw kind of boomerangs at him. Like, well, what about this? What about that? And I was just doing it to like be conversation. I wasn't like trying to burn the house down or anything like that. And it was such a, living in LA, working in Hollywood adjacent industries, the assumption is just like everyone's just like, oh my God, Bush is crazy. There's no weapons in Iraq, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It was just very, very much, everyone kind of said the same thing, thought the same way, whatever. And I was like, well, what about this? What about that? And he was just like, and he was a real smart guy. So it was like fun to kind of just have these conversations stuff. And I was like, I could do a thing with Bobby Rock where I'm like a little conservative pundit. You know what I mean? No one will see this coming. You know what I mean? Bobby would be like, the other side of it. Like, come on, these people have rights or whatever. And I was like, I could make a play with this. You know what I mean? And I thought about it literally as entertainment. And these things, these people that you just spoke of, they all essentially are creating, it's not news, it's entertainment. Because it's with bias. It's explicitly with bias. And that's it. I mean,
and that was proven in a lawsuit, with against Fox News that they paid out handily. But, Ollie, here's what I want to say is you're the world's greatest dad. Now, some of the dads we featured here today are not the world's greatest dad. But that doesn't have to be you, listener, viewer. You can be the world's greatest dad. There's always time to improve. And we're here for you every week. And we're figuring it out. And we're here to guide you, but also guide each other and ourselves and learn. Because part of being the world's greatest dad is not being like Tucker Carlson or James Sexton. So hold us accountable, and we'll do the same for you. Thanks for coming along, and we'll see you next week.
Open invite for David Beckham. The door's open.
Or Brooklyn, whoever.
We'll bump our next guest.
Yeah, we'll bump.
Consider it. Consider that. Sorry, guys.
All right. I'll see you later, Ollie.
All right. I'll be here. I don't move. I stay here the whole time.
I know.